Hey everybody, Neil with Tax Sherpa here. The Democrats have released their text for the $1.9 trillion stimulus bill that Joe Biden has talked about already. And it is February 19th, 2021. As we have seen many times, the specifics of this can change a lot, but this is actually fairly in line with what has already been talked about, notwithstanding the minimum wage increase. But for the purposes that we're going to talk about here, the tax stuff, at least for individuals, that is all pretty much as expected. So if we go down towards the end here at, let's see, recovery rebates to individuals, section 9601. And this bill is only 500 something pages instead of 5,000. So this section, the recovery rebates to individuals, this is the stimulus payments that are going to people's, by and large, to their direct deposit accounts, or written as checks, or sometimes debit cards. So what they are saying here is $1,400, $2,800 in the case of a joint return. So if you file singly, you're getting $1,400. If you file as a married couple, then $2,800 plus $1,400 multiplied by the number of dependents of the taxpayer for such taxable year. So it's basically $1,400 for everybody in the tax family. And of course, there are the same phase outs. If you're filing single, above 75,000. If you're filing married, filing joint, up above 150,000, I believe it was. And yeah, 75,000 for single, and let's see, head of households 112,500. Joint is 150,000. Okay, so yeah, so $1,400 a piece. So I've got, it's me, my wife, 2 children, so that's $5,600, which as of this recording right now is about 1/10 of 1 Bitcoin. So that's a fun little statistic. On top of that, there are other changes that are being proposed here, quite a bit. So let's go back to the table of contents, and the relevant portions are, let's see if I can actually find them. So unemployment is being extended through August, according to this proposal. Now, keep in mind, none of this has been passed yet. This is just a proposal. But chances are, since the Democrats have control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency, that this is pretty close to what's going to actually end up passing. The elder justice, health care for workers, child tax credit. So this was very interesting to me. So the child tax credit, under the very old rules, prior to 2017, the child tax credit was $1,000 per kid to 5 kids, and it was fully refundable, meaning that even if you didn't have any federal tax liability, you would still get a refund based on that credit for that tax year. So Tax Cut and Jobs Act, which was the Trump tax reform, raised that from $1,000 per child up to $2,000 per child, and up to $1,400 of that was refundable. So you could have $600 non-refundable, $1,400 refundable. So what they are proposing here is that it goes from $2,000 to $3,000 per child. They're extending the age from 16 to 17. So under the old rules, the child credit expired when the child turned 17. So there was kind of this lull period if you had a 17-year-old still in the house, and most 17-year-olds are. And you might get some credits for college if they end up going to college that you had to pay for. But yeah, so they're extending that to 17, and now when they're turning 18, the child credit expires. And I think that's going to actually make a lot more sense to people. Most people don't think of 17-year-olds as independent adults because all the other laws say 18 basically. So that's raising the amount. If a child is under 6, they're actually going to raise that to $3,600. And the other change they're looking at making is, instead of that all being at once on your tax return, they're looking at giving you payments every month. And inside of this text here, they are talking about setting up a whole online system where you could log in and you could set whether you want payments every month, or you want it annually, and how much, and in which way, and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty interesting, and that's this advanced payment of child tax credit issue. So Another change they're looking at making is changes to the earned income credits. So it's earned income tax credit. So currently, if you are a single person and you make less than about $13,000, then you have to be at least 25 in order to claim the earned income credit for yourself. What this bill is proposing is to lower that down to 19, actually. So people who are on their own, after leaving the home and are making relatively low wages, basically federal poverty line kind of wages, then they will be eligible for that earned income credit, which can be worth several $100s depending on exactly how much you make during that year. And a couple of little changes, but that is sort of the big one there. Now the other thing is the dependent care assistance. So this is your child care credit. So for the majority of filers, child care credit applies to children birth through 12 who are paying for daycare and aftercare and those sorts of things, caring for their dependents. And then it expires when they turn 13 unless they have special needs or something like that. So that is a non-refundable credit under the current rules, meaning that it can reduce how much taxes you owe, or even if you get a refund, it can reduce the total tax liability, but you're not going to get cash back out of it, from the government. So right here, they're saying they want to make the credit refundable, which is a nice change for taxpayers, and also they're going to increase the dollar limit amount creditable. So the way it works under the current rules is that up to the first $3,000 you spend on that dependent care goes towards this credit, and then you can have up to $6,000 total of that. So that would be for two children basically. So what they're saying here is that they're going to increase that from $3,000 per kid up to $8,000 per kid, and that actually makes a lot of sense simply because childcare is incredibly expensive. So when I talk to clients about their childcare, it's like, oh, do you spend how much are you spending on childcare? And average number is basically $1,000 a month for pretty much anywhere in the country for substantial daycare kind of stuff. And it reduces a little bit depending on what they do as the child gets older, but still it's a dramatic expense. I've seen plenty of people spending 10, 15, 20% of their take-home income on childcare, no problem. So they're increasing the dollar amount that goes towards that credit, and they're also tweaking the percentages and how much credit you'll get, and then they're making that refundable. So that'll be a nice big boost for taxpayers. So between those two things, the child tax credit and the additional child tax credit, which is the refundable portion, and the changes here to the dependent care credit, then this is a big actual win for individual taxpayers, especially those who have dependent children. So obviously, this is still in the works, it's still in flux, and this was just released about an hour or two ago. So more things will be found as we go through this 500-page document. But for now, that's the interesting stuff that I saw so far.